What is up, y'all? It's Libria Jones, also known as the Remote Work Queen. And this is actually going to be the first in a series that I'm calling The Breakdown. Breakdown. Steady breaking me on down. So the breakdown is basically where if I get asked a question a lot of times and I need to go more in depth to answer that question, or if I get stumped on a question in my live Q&As, and I want to circle back and provide more information about that question, I'm going to come here and do a nice little breakdown and just give you guys more information. If you don't know who I am, my name is Libria Jones. I'm the Remote Work Queen. I am here to provide content and information that will help you find and land a remote job. I have an audacious goal to help 10,000 moms find remote work so that they can do great work from anywhere and show up for their families the way that they desire. Today, I'm going to talk about how to transition into project management. Literally get asked this question every damn week. Every friggin' week, multiple times a week. Someone asked me about how to get into project management. I am a project manager. I've been a project manager for over 10 years. And I talk about the fact that I'm a project manager all the time. I happen to think project management is one of the easiest ways to get into remote work. There's a lot of remote project management jobs out there. I also happen to think project management is pretty freaking general. Like, it's a general position. Like, it's pretty general work. I think almost every position has some form of project management in it. Before we get into it, friend, do me two quick favors. All right. Like this video and subscribe to the channel. Okay. So you can get notified when we do more breakdowns and when I do lives every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. Central time. Let's get into this. First thing I want to say is before we go into this, there is no one way to be a project manager. There's not one way to do it. I'm going to share how I did it. My way may not be your way. It may not be the only path. The reason why I'm sharing this is to give you an idea of how someone might have gotten into project management, maybe give you some tips, some resources, some things to think about. But also, what I encourage you to do is your own independent research. All right. You don't have to follow my path. You don't have to follow every step that I followed, but I want to give you some ideas to kind of think outside of the box, think creatively. A lot of people are kind of stuck thinking, I'm not a project manager, I've never been a project manager, no way I can get into project management. So all that to say, this video is not the silver bullet to becoming a project manager. It's just a great place for you to start thinking about how you can get into the role. All right. So first, what's a project manager? What the hell is a project manager? A project manager is basically a role that is in charge of being the point of contact for a project. And I'm going to tell you something. A project can be defined in many ways. A project can be defined as an event. It can be defined as a software implementation. It can be defined as setting up a new process at work to roll out, changing a process, all kinds of things. It could be a construction project. It could be a new interior design. It could be building a house. It could be furnishing the house. It could be throwing a party. All kinds of things are projects. And so a project manager is really the single point of contact to manage that project. And that person could manage the project schedule, the budget, keep up to date on the status, make sure everybody is communicating across the project, identifying risks, making sure that risks are being mitigated, all kinds of things. All right. The definition of project management is the use of specific knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to deliver something of value. Okay. And that something of value, like I said, can be pretty much anything. It could be clothing, right? It could be, launching a shoe line. It could be anything. Okay. So again, project management is pretty generic and almost everything is a project. So project managers aren't special. We aren't unicorns. It's a pretty generic profession, honestly. We get industry knowledge depending on what industry we work in, but the work that we do is pretty much the same across every industry. Newsflash. I didn't go to school to be a project manager. I did not go to school to be a project manager. In fact, I don't know anybody who did. I don't know anyone that went to school to be a project manager. I know that people can. I believe that there are degrees out there that focus in project management. There's programs at schools and universities that focus in project management, but I personally don't know anybody that went to school to be a project manager. Most of us started off somewhere else: engineering, finance, business administration. I mean, I know people that started out in journalism and, the arts and ended up in project management. Here's where I started and how I kind of moved into project management. I started working in the finance department at the Home Depot. I was working in a management development program where and it was in finance. It was in the finance department, but it was a management development program with the goal of basically grooming people to be managers in other areas of the business. And so you're in this program for 2 years, and for that time you get put on these different projects in different areas of the business. It could be a project in operations, it could be a project in marketing, merchandising. And it was for 3 months, and for that 3 months the goal was to either find ways to reduce costs, find ways to recover lost money, or find new revenue streams. And I realized that while, I majored in finance and I like finance, I love numbers, I love math, I realized that what I really liked was the management of it, right? For every project, I loved being the one to keep us all together, to keep us all focused on the objective, right? By the end of this, we needed to have this thing done, right? So whatever we do for those 90 days, I loved being the person to make sure that we were focused on those things, right? Whenever there was time to host a meeting, I loved being the person that made sure that, when we go into that meeting, expectations were known for what we were trying to accomplish. At the end of that meeting, notes were sent out about what that meeting was about, what we accomplished, what decisions we made. I really liked all of the organization around those projects, right? All of the, making sure our ducks are in a row, making sure everybody was on point, making sure we thought through what could go wrong, making sure that whenever we had to do a presentation, we practiced before that presentation, right? And so I really liked being in that kind of leadership role. And I say leadership, a lot of people think that project management is about leading and telling people what to do and being the one that's in charge. I look at project management as servant leadership, but that's a whole nother conversation. It's leadership, but it's servant leadership. It's leadership from a standpoint of, let me set everyone else up for success, right? Every time someone has to go make a decision or go give a presentation or go update on some status or go build something, I want to make sure that they have what they need in order to do that. And that's what project management is to me. But anyway, we're talking about where I started. So where I started again is in finance. And it occurred to me that I didn't love the finance aspect, but I loved the project aspect of it. And so in this program, after 2 years, you're supposed to go find another job. Ideally within the Home Depot. Ideally, you're supposed to find another job within the Home Depot. So when I was looking for jobs around the Home Depot, I really started looking for jobs that met the things that I was so interested in, right? Being able to take a leadership role in projects, being able to be the single point of contact, the person that makes sure all the ducks are in a row and everybody knows what they're supposed to do, and the person who really loves process. I love process. Processes are my jam. And we had worked on projects where I had to actually, develop process maps and write out processes, right? Make sure that processes were detailed. And so I was really looking for roles to do those things. I'd say step one for how I made that transition is volunteered for opportunities. And I did not realize this until I was looking for a job in the Home Depot. I had been volunteering for project management roles my entire career. So I worked at a job while I was in grad school when I first had my daughter in Tallahassee. I was in customer service. I was a customer service rep. And they were implementing a new system that tracked the benefits. So I worked for a benefits company. And they were implementing a new software. And I volunteered to be the business subject matter expert for that new software, right? So I volunteered to do that. I volunteered to sit in the room with these people that were gathering requirements for what that what that software would look like and tell them what we needed from a business perspective. As a customer service agent, here's what I know we need because people call in and ask for these things, right? So I volunteered to be part of that project. And then I volunteered to help build out our customer service training program. And as a result of that, I actually got promoted to a customer service manager. And this was my job in grad school when I first had my daughter. And so when I got that promotion, I ended up building out our whole customer service training and onboarding program. And that was a project. And then I moved over into another part of the business and took the initiative to do this project where we I took the initiative to build a project that changed the way we marketed to our customers to sign up for 401ks. And so one of the big things that I did very early in my career is I volunteered for opportunities to lead projects. So that's going to be my first tip. It is to volunteer for opportunities to lead or participate in projects. And again, think about projects as pretty much anything where you have to deliver some value. If your company is starting a new process, if your company is implementing some new software, implementing a new process, onboarding somebody new, if you see something broken in the process, volunteer to fix it, patch it up, or volunteer to be a part of the team that's doing that, right? Because then what happens is you'll start to get project management experience that way. Right. And so that's what I did. I started getting project management experience by volunteering to be on different projects or volunteering and taking the initiative to create my own projects as well. So that's one thing I did. And then I started leaning into that experience. So I mentioned that at Home Depot, after 2 years, you had to get another job in the company. You still have to apply for an interview for those jobs. Okay. It's not as easy as it seems. You still have to apply for the jobs. And so I really leaned into the experience that I had that was project management related. Okay. So even when I left the Home Depot, I did the same thing. What I would do is my previous role was in finance. I think my title was financial analyst. I can't remember, but I backslashed that hoe. I said financial analyst / project manager, or I put in parentheses project manager because the work that I did met the criteria of a project manager. My title wasn't project manager, but I definitely backslashed the hell out of my resume and said that I was also a project manager because that's how I was acting as a project manager, right? And so I definitely leaned very heavily into my experience. And instead of putting a bunch of financial things in my bullet points, I put a lot of project management stuff in my bullet points, right? I would put in there that, I set project expectations, track project objectives, things like that, right? So lean into the experience. Most of us have experience that meets the criteria of project management because, as I said before, project management is hella generic. It is pretty generic, and most of us do project management activities in our day-to-day jobs. So just lean into that. So just lean into that experience and don't be afraid to just kind of add that onto your resume. I am an events manager / project manager, events manager in parentheses, project coordinator, whatever the case may be, feel free to add that in there. The third thing that I did was I actually got certified in project management as well. So I'll say this. I believe in certifications. I'm a person who loves certifications, believes that they add a little bit of oomph to your resume. They add a little bit of credibility. I know that certifications can be expensive as well. So I'll say this. I felt like I needed to get a certification in order to get into project management. I'll also say this. I know people that are project managers that have no certifications. All right. So I think it will depend on how much experience you have. If you don't have a lot of experience, a certification can definitely move you forward just a little bit, right? Because it makes up for what you lack in experience. And because I did not have a lot of direct experience, I went out and got a certification. All right, so I got a certification. Ideally, you can get hired by a company who doesn't think you need to have a certification, but will pay for you to get one, and that way you can get it for free. That's the ideal scenario. If I had it to do over again, I would have waited until I worked for a company that would pay for it to get it. But it's up to you to decide what you want to do or what you feel like you need to do. I'm telling you what I did. I felt like I needed a project management certification in order to catapult my career into project management because I did not have a lot of experience. So I have a PMP, which means Project Management Professional, from PMI, which is the Project Management Institute. That is the only place that you should get a project management certification. All right. So if you are looking to get a project management certification specifically, that's the only place to get it. There's nowhere else to get it. Don't let anybody trick you into thinking there's another one. That is the certification. They have a few certifications as well, and they have one for people that have even less experience, because you do kind of have to have some experience to get the PMP. What I'd say is, you can definitely turn a lot of your work and a lot of the things that you did in college into PMP experience for the certification, which is what I did. So yes, I got certified. You can get certified as a Scrum Master. You can get certified in Agile. The PMP is what I went for first. Some people go for the Scrum Master certification first because Scrum and Agile are very, very, very popular in project management right now. I know that a lot of companies right now. I don't have a Scrum Master certification yet. And if you have questions about what Agile, Scrum, and what Scrum mean, this is not the video. I'm going to recommend that you Google it. It is a methodology under project management. It is a type of project management methodology. Feel free to Google that, and I can drop some links in the comments. In the caption for it. But that's not what this video is about. The fourth thing that I did was I took advantage of that internal move. So I was able to, my program was set up for me to do this. I was able to move into a project management role at the Home Depot, right? And so my company was set up for this. Like, I was supposed to move into another role at the Home Depot. But what I recommend that you all do is take advantage of opportunities to move into different roles within your organization if they are available. The reason is your company is going to be more willing to bet on you than anybody else is. They are more likely going to be willing to bet on you than any other company, especially if you have very little experience, right? Because here's the key. You have experience with them. You have experience with that organization, with that company. And if your goal was to move into a remote role as fast as possible, that's fine. But also consider, moving into a role at your existing company as another way to kind of start to build your profile as a project manager. So apply for both, try both, see if one works see if one works first or the other one works first. If it were me, my strategy would be, I'm going to apply for some remote roles as a project manager, but I'm going to apply for a project manager role for the company that I work for now, because they're going to be more likely to bet on me with little to no experience, right? And then maybe I sit in this role for a year and then start to apply for other roles. Maybe I sit in this role for 6 months and start to apply for other roles again, right? So that's actually a really great way to get experience. That's what I did. I moved into a project management role within the organization. And man, let me tell you something. Not only did it get me into project management, but it got me into IT project management, which I had absolutely no experience with. And my goal was to get into the IT space, get into the technology space, because that's where the money reside. That's where the money reside. There is so much money in IT. And I don't have a technical background. I do not have a technical degree. Again, I majored in finance, y'all. I majored in finance. But I got hired as a project manager at Home Depot, working on a data management software implementation. Basically, they were bringing on some new software to analyze existing data and help them figure out how to improve their assortments across stores. Pretty cool, right? And as a project manager, I don't have to understand the software to manage the project, right? As a project manager, you don't have to understand the software. You have to understand how projects run and how to get shit done. That's what you have to understand, right? How to communicate, how to set expectations, how to identify risks. Those are the things you have to know. And so they were willing to take a chance on me internally because I knew the Home Depot, right? Because I knew the retail space, because I had been working there for 2.5 years, right? So they were willing to take a chance on me before anybody else was willing to take a chance on me. So that is the fourth thing I would say. Look for opportunities internally to do project management because they're going to be willing to take a chance on you. The next thing I did was after I left the Home Depot, I started freelancing. Now, I'm not necessarily suggesting that you do this exactly, but I wanted to continue to build my experience. I also wanted to work remotely. So this was a great way for me to build a book of business and build some freedom into my schedule because I had some stuff going on with my family, whole nother conversation. But so I end up getting some clients. I had a client in London that I did project management for. I had a client in New York, a client in Costa Rica, and a client in Chicago. And how I got these clients was a number of different ways. One way was I went on, it was Odesk at the time. It is called Upwork now. And I created a profile and I submitted proposals to some of the job postings that they had. And I ended up getting 2 clients on there. The third way was I worked my network. I have a lot of friends who run small businesses, and I had one friend who was in need of someone to build out a process to define or fix his returns process. And so I told him, I was like, I reached out to my friend. I was like, what is your biggest challenge in your business right now? And he said returns. Returns was his biggest problem in his business. He can't figure out his returns process. And I was like, well, I'm a project manager and I'm a process review professional. Like I review processes. I'm good at identifying, points of process improvement. And so he hired me to do that. And then we started doing more work together. After that, I built his payroll process and built financial models to calculate his payroll. Then I helped him open a salon. So that was the third client I got. And the fourth client I got from a networking event. I went to a conference and was sitting at a table with a group of entrepreneurs. And I asked the same question. I said, let's go around the table and talk about what is our biggest challenge in our business right now. And one of the guys said, scope creep. Oh, you just said a magic word to a project manager. I got you, friend. I got you. So I told him, like, as a project manager, what I do for Scope Creek. And I told him part of his problem is his whole business is developers and clients. And that's it. There's no one setting expectations for the clients and there's no one holding the developers accountable. He needs to insert someone in that process and that person needs to be a project manager and that project manager needs to be me. So that was the fourth client that I got. And it was great because, there wasn't as much need to show proof, right, of like this extensive list of experience. It was really just about talking to these potential clients about how I could be of value to them. And they hired me that way. So freelancing was an excellent way to build my profile as a project manager. And after I did that, I think at the end of 2013, I'd say this whole process started maybe 2010 to 2013. Not saying that it takes 3 years to get into project management at all. And at the end of 2013, a recruiter reached out to me about some software company looking for project managers, like 10 minutes from my house. And I got hired there and I've been in IT project management ever since. Well, technically I've been in IT project management since I was at the Home Depot because, they put me in that position. But all this to say, there's so many ways to get into project management. It's not necessarily as difficult as people like to think it is because, as I said, almost every job has an element of project management. I think where people get stuck is believing that because their title doesn't say project management, that they're not a project manager, right? So maybe you're not a project manager officially, but you have acted as one, right? So what I strongly suggest people do, I'm going to go back through these things that I did. What I strongly suggest that people do is, one, make sure you are volunteering for opportunities at your company to do project management work, right? So either if there's a new project coming down the pipeline, go ahead and volunteer to be part of that project and be the point of contact or be the person that manages the schedule or the person that watches the budget or even just the person that gathers all the status and reports out on status, right? Be that guy, be that person. The second thing is make sure you are leaning into all of your experience. When you are applying for jobs, don't be afraid to backslash that hole. You know what I'm saying? My job is a contract negotiator / project manager. Do it. Just do it. It's your resume. You can write whatever you want on it, to be perfectly honest. And instead of your bullet points under your role being just the things that you did for that role, make sure that you're identifying things that you did as a project manager. Okay. Um, the third thing I mentioned is to consider getting certified. Now, again, you've got to decide if that's going to be worth it for you. My opinion for me was that it was worth it to get certified. So that's what I did. I do work with project managers that do not have the certification. Um, so again, up completely up to you. The fourth thing is, if you can, take advantage of opportunities internally to get project management experience. And the fifth thing is to consider freelancing. Reach out to some friends that have small businesses, join some small business networks, and tell people that you're down to help them with their launch. You're down to help them kind of organize their projects, organize their client onboarding process, whatever the case may be. Build content calendars for them, build event calendars for them, whatever the case may be. So, maybe start freelancing as well. And that goes on your resume. It goes on your LinkedIn also. So that's it. That is my breakdown on how I became a project manager. I'm going to repeat this again, though. My way is not the only way. All right. So please do your own research. Do your own research and figure out how you can get into project management. And if there's questions that I did not answer through this long ass video, please drop your questions in the comments. I can keep this party going. We can create more content. I'll throw a blog post up. Maybe we'll even do a live Q&A specifically about project management, because I want to make sure that I'm giving you guys what you need. So feel free to drop your questions in the comments so that I can go ahead and answer them if I did not already answer them in this video. All right, friends, that's it. That's all. I have talked myself to death about project management. And I just need 2 favors from you, okay? Favor number 1, if this was at all helpful, please go ahead and click that thumbs up button. Go on, click it. You know you want to. Favor number 2, click the subscribe button. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel so that you know when I do breakdowns, when I do lives on Tuesdays. I just don't want you to miss anything. Okay, friend? So subscribe. All right, that's it. I will see you guys next time. Until then, I'm wishing you the best of luck and hope that you get to do great work from anywhere. Bye, y'all.